welcome to the Cinefied Podcast, the show where we discuss film better than discussing film. Believe it, obviously.
Wow, that's a bold statement.
In all seriousness, though, with this podcast, we aim to enlighten you on what film to watch next by breaking it down so you can decide if you should see it in theaters or wait for it to hit VOD. My name is Dempsey, a contributor for Cinefied, but I'm also this week's host, which is why if you haven't heard my voice before, or you've heard me very faintly in the background, it may sound kind of new to you. Joining me today are my fellow members of the Cinefied team, Connor, Kevin, and Tiffany. What's up, guys?
Nothing a lot. Just chilling, thinking about the Conjuring,
Yes.
So,
I would be doing better if I didn't see this movie.
Oh, well, okay.
I'm just trying to fight the Sunday scaries right now. So I'm just happy to be here talking to you guys. Keep my mind off of it.
Yeah. Today, in case you haven't picked it up, we are covering the supposed final entry in the Conjuring series, the 9th official film in the Conjuring universe. I'm going to be saying those words a lot today. The film is called The Conjuring: Last Rites. It hit theaters this past weekend, was directed by Michael Chavez, who has basically become the new head of the franchise after directing 2 spin-offs as well as the last Conjuring movie, The Devil Made Me Do It. It features the return of Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga. And they play real-life paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren. This time, however, they are joined by Mia Tomlinson and Ben Hardy. And just so that you guys know, if you haven't seen the trailer or whatever, this is the film's very detailed plot synopsis, okay? Paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren take on one last terrifying case involving mysterious entities they must confront. Yeah, so
that's about it.
That's
that's the movie.
I made a joke.
It doesn't even happen until an hour in either.
Thank you very much. I can't wait to dive into this with you guys. Now, you can check out the full review written by our editor-in-chief, Connor, on our website, Cinefied.com. But here is an excerpt from his review. The Conjuring: Last Rites is a solid horror film, a satisfying finale and among the top within the universe. While the demonic entity here is no match to Annabelle or the Nun, there's still a lot of fright to be had and, in turn, a lot of scary fun. Before we get into our spoiler-free thoughts, we are going to go around and share our preliminary popcorn ratings. The goal of this, as we've kind of established in the last few episodes, we're going to see if our discussion changes anybody's mind, if we were able to move the needle at all with this discussion. And for those new to our Cinefied popcorn scale, it is very simple. And it's really awesome, too, because it's so simple. An empty bag of popcorn means the movie was an absolute mistake. Half bag means a maybe. And a full bag means a must. As I just said, even though we kind of know what Connor thought, I think we should start with him. I'm really curious to hear him elaborate on some of the positives that he had for this film.
Okay. Well, if you can't tell, I do give it a full popcorn as of right now. I don't think you guys can sway me one way or the other, but let's see. I personally love the first 2 films in the franchise. I think that they are some of the scariest and just some of the most creative horror films that are like in the mainstream kind of like zeitgeist. I just have such a good time with them. And I think that the Nun is one of those characters that just has been ingrained in my mind. And it's just, you see like a portrait in the shadows and just in the darkness, and you're like, oh shit, that could be the Nun. so going into the third film, that film unfortunately was a major disappointment for me. I appreciate that this same director that did Last Rites did something different with the third film, but after, it seems like with every new entry that he's done with this franchise, because he went from La Llorona, which is unofficial, and then he did Conjuring 3, and then he did The Nun 2, and then now he's done this. And I think Nun 2 was such an advancement over the previous 2 films he did because it had some of the atmosphere that Wan did in the first 2 films. And I think that this film delivers the atmosphere that's so missing in the third film to me. Now, I think you guys might, well, one of you might agree with me, two of you, spoiler alert, not agreeing, but that's how I feel. I do think that this has the James Wan tone. All that he did in this film is the story here, but I do just feel like he was overseeing it, and maybe that's because of how rickety people's opinion are of this franchise 10 films in. I think Patrick Wilson is terrific. I think Vera Farmiga is terrific. I think their chemistry just keeps getting better and better, even in the third film. I think each film, they're just fantastic together. And I hope that you all can agree that at least that is true. But I do think there are some issues, mainly just that there is a little bit of a drag to get to the big scares in the film. I personally enjoy jump scares, so I enjoyed my time with this haunted house type of film. And yeah, I mean, I don't really want to go too much deeper because I know I'm going to spoil stuff, so I want to just kind of drop it there.
All right, cool. So in general, you thought it was a good movie, but it sounds like more of like a redeeming film in the franchise, because you said you weren't a big fan of the last one. Okay, I get that context. All right.
I do have to rewatch the third film, to be fair. I've not seen it since it was released back in 2023 or 2 or whenever. So, but as of right now, this just is such a big improvement.
Awesome. All right, Tiffany, what about you?
I agree with Connor. I am going to go with full popcorn bucket. I really went into this movie just kind of expecting what it turned out to be. And I think because of that, I was okay with it. And I was like, you know what? It just is what it is. I cannot think of any other way for the Warren story at least to end. And there's like a formula to all of these movies, especially just like the core Warren stories, right? There's like, I don't want to say too much, but there's always a formula, and I kind of just expected it to end the way that it did. And I agree with Connor too. Like, there are some things, like, it's not a perfect film, obviously, but I was pretty happy with it. I had a lot of fun with it, and I saw it just yesterday, and I'm like still thinking about it. I'm like, oh, I kind of want to go see it again. Like, I don't know. I really enjoyed it, and I think if you really enjoyed the Warrens as characters, I think you're really gonna like this movie. I will say it did lack a lot of the scare factor that the first two movies had, and I also wasn't a huge fan of the third one, but I definitely like respect what it is within the like context of all four movies. But for the most part, I really liked it. So
that's fair. That is fair. Kevin, I feel like we're turning the needle now. We're going to somebody who I think
the dark side.
shared my sentiment. Kevin, what did you think?
So, I mean, if I were to give it like a popcorn rating right off the bat, I would give it a half popcorn. Like, it doesn't do anything that's egregiously bad, but it doesn't do anything that's all that interesting. But keep in mind that, like, I'm coming in as someone who has only seen the first Conjuring film and Annabelle Creation. I only watch Annabelle Creation because I like David F. Sandberg a lot. So when I jumping into this movie, I felt like I was watching Avengers Endgame, having only seen Captain America and Ant-Man. I'm like, it's like, oh, I know some of these people. But also as a whole in this film, it kind of felt like a lesser version of the first film. But I kind of see what they're trying to do. If this is kind of a wrap up, where it's like, go back to this roots. It's about this family that goes to a house that's haunted. They call the Warrens in, but now the Warrens have experienced so many more things. There's a lot more weight to the situation, so to speak, based on every installment that builds up to this. I would imagine so. It's just that the weight does not translate at all to someone who comes in blindly into this movie. It's like all these characters are just kind of there, and like the movie assumes you know everything about them, so that way there's no real explanation of why things matter, why these actions matter. It's just that, hey, this matters because of these characters are in these roles, and that's it. So that's kind of like my spoiler-free thoughts on that. But basically, kind of neutral on that.
Once again, fair. Okay, so we're definitely taking the needle down because I thought it was an empty popcorn bag. Empty bag of popcorn, empty popcorn bag spilled all over myself during this movie. I will agree. There are some things that I agree with all of you guys about. It has its scary moments, as Tiffany said. It doesn't commit any egregious acts, and I do like the performances from Patrick and Vera. I think they've only grown as a couple off screen, and as friends, and on screen rather, and off screen as friends. And I would love to see them do something else together. That's where I'm at with them because I feel like they're individually just such great actors. But,
give them a rom-com.
Hey, right? But I just feel like this movie really is like a fizzled out ending for them. I felt like it hit a lot of the same beats that we've seen in other movies. And more, I'll talk more in depth when we talk more specifically in just a few moments. And yeah, it just didn't do it for me. It was just slow, boring, slog with like all the horror, the really strong horror elements too far and few between. And so yeah, empty popcorn bucket for me, or empty popcorn bag. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, guys. But we're gonna dive into it. We're gonna talk about it more. This is where I love, film criticism, because we get to hear everybody, whether you love it or hate it. We're gonna dive into why you love it or hate it. Before we do that, though, I do want just some analysis. We all touched on it in some way, shape, or form. But if this is the alleged final film in the franchise, do you think it's the strongest one, or do you think it's the best way to go out? Do you think it's a solid note? If it's not a high note, at least a solid note to end things on. And you know what? Let's start with Tiffany.
I think for me it worked. I definitely, like, thinking back, when I actually came home yesterday and like skimmed through some of the first like 3, and I was like, oh, like I can kind of see where some things were lost in this one, but because a lot of this movie was like based on the relationships of these characters that we've seen on screen for so long, and the wrap up of this family type drama worked for me in a way where like I said before, like I really don't know how else they would have done it. But I don't know how to explain it. It worked, but I don't know. I don't know if this is going to be the end of this story. They say it's going to be the end of them, but I think because it does feel a lot weaker than the other stories, I'm like, oh, maybe they're planning on bringing them back in some capacity. I don't know, but I guess I don't know. It worked for me, is what I'm going to say. I'm like losing my train of thought here. Sorry.
No, that's valid. That's a valid answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I can't wait. Later on in the episode, there are some other things and ideas that they were supposed to do and supposed to go, and they could have gone, that we will explore, like the case files that we'll probably never see on the screen. But
that's why I'm like pausing, because I'm like stopping myself from saying too much, because I'm like, oh, there's a lot I have to say, but then I'm like, no, like, but it's like, it could have been stronger a little bit, but as a wrap up of the Warren family, I was like, okay, yeah, this is it. Like, it's not the strongest note ever, but at the same time, it did make me emotional a little bit. So
okay, no, that's valid. That's totally valid. And I said valid, not Valak. Okay, guys.
Wow.
No. All right, Kevin, what did you think? What do you think of this film as a summation of the franchise? You didn't like it as much as the other two, so I'm definitely curious to hear what you.
Well, like, again, I only seen the first Conjuring and Annabelle Creation. I have not seen Conjuring 2. I have not seen Conjuring 3. I have not seen Nun 1, Nun 2, Curse of La Llorona. Is there another one? No, the Annabelle something else.
Annabelle Comes Home and Annabelle Creation, which you did see Annabelle Creation.
I did see Annabelle Creation. That's the only one I've seen. So
Annabelle Comes Home. Annabelle Comes Home is basically like a Conjuring light, because it does have Ed and Lorraine in it, and it's kind of like takes place between, I think, the second and third film, or it takes place between one of the films. But yeah, and I enjoy that one, but most people don't.
And then technically Amityville Horror would fall somewhere in this timeline too. But
True.
yeah, but in terms of like as it being the final note for a series, it's like again, it's like it doesn't do anything bad, it doesn't do anything great, it's just kind of there. It has decent spectacle to it. Like the cinematography is great, the sound quality is great. Like there's some really interesting sequences of like where they of set design, especially when my favorite part was when they broke through the floor, going to the next floor. My least favorite part was when the mirror's just spinning.
It was comical. Just some Looney Tunes stuff.
I know. I'm like, wow, I'm real scared, guys. But again, it's just like what makes me love the first Conjuring so much is not so much the scares. The scares are kind of like, a nice piece of genre filmmaking there, but the story of the first one I felt was very compelling. It is a very strong story about family and about the Warrens learning about family through the power of family and love through the family that they are helping in the first film. So like that was kind of like, oh, this is really great. Emotional set pieces, like the climax is very like it feels very personal in a blockbuster scale. Whereas like this kind of feels like a blockbuster movie that's kind of trying to emulate the same ideas, but not knowing how to actually get into the emotion of it, only understanding the spectacle of it. So again, it's just kind of like a weaker version of the first movie. And you know what? It's like it's not terrible last note to end on. It's like if you're watching your favorite TV show, it's like, wow, it ends like a regular episode, I guess.
Yeah.
And Connor.
I mean, I think that it's fair to end it this way. I honestly think that as far as them coming back, Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson have stated how kind of tired they are of these characters. Like they enjoy playing them, but at cons that they go to, well, not Vera, but Patrick has openly stated that he's kind of done with this universe. But this film did make the most money on an opening weekend of any Conjuring film besides The Nun. So, yeah, I think there is a good chance they could, try to pay him a lot, bring him back, but hopefully not. I think that there is finality to how this ends, especially with the montage and the kind of like the bringing the real Warren type story. And they even pack kind of like a little punch towards the Warrens with the saying how their book sucks. And so, but
yeah, that was funny.
But yeah, I mean, I personally, I had a great time with it. I get what you're saying with it being more kind of like a blockbuster type thing. But I mean, I expect these films to be basically on rails at this point. But I think that this one, unlike the last few spinoffs, felt less like a VR on rails thing. And you had these two like powerhouse performances, in my opinion, from Patrick and Vera. I just anytime they're on screen, I mean, I can't help but love the two. And I personally liked the Judy, who was played by Mia here. I think is Mia Tomlinson, right?
Yes.
And unfortunately, that's one of the most main casting like differences is her, because she's been recast 3 times in this universe. And I get here it's big time jump, so you can't keep McKenna Grace. But yeah, I mean, I thought she was good, but yeah, definitely when you change actors that much, it's hard to really like develop feelings for them, So, but yeah.
And I mean, I would be tired of playing this character too if I was Patrick Wilson, considering for like the last 2 films, his whole arc is just seeing something scary and then grabbing his chest and then being like, I forgot my pill, So that's just me. So I get it, Patrick. But
Patrick's also like he's in the Insidious universe too, right?
he directed one, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So he's like
he loves
doing
those.
Double duty for James Wan.
Yeah.
I think the guy who plays the priest in the Conjuring movies, I think he's also in the Insidious movies, isn't he?
Is he?
The guy who plays that.
He's in Curse of. I thought no, never. The guy from The Nun is in Curse of La
It's a
Llorona.
different priest. Yeah, it's weird. We could talk
He doesn't
about
play a priest, but yeah.
I think he's James Wan regular is what you're saying.
I think so.
Steve
Yeah,
Coulter
like that.
is his name, and we
Yes.
will talk about Father Gordon because that was upsetting, and not an emotionally upsetting way, but like I feel an insult to my intelligence. But we're gonna all right. So you guys all spoke about like how you think about the movies. I already kind of said that I felt it was like a fizzle out. I can't. The only movie that I really liked in this whole entire franchise is The Conjuring 2, which I think is not just like the most compelling story, but it introduces to like the most, I think, more iconic than Annabelle Valak, my namesake here, who it just became like a real, I guess, a mainstay in pop culture because of how crazy the concept of the character was. But the story that The Conjuring 2 is based on is like world famous. Like that poltergeist in England. And like if you look up anything about it, all the stories are wild. And then the fact, this minor spoiler alert, the girls eventually came out and said that they faked the whole thing. But if you listen to the tapes, it's extremely hard to fake a demonic voice like that. And if you guys have ever seen, there's a great movie called Ghost Watch, old 90s movie. I think it's still available on Shudder. It tells the exact same story, but from like, it's like found footagey almost. And it's really good. Like just do your own research about it. But I think James Wan does it justice to like the T. And that's why I really liked it. But I did not like this film for several reasons. Number one being that I felt like it really ripped off part 2 a lot. Between the family dynamic, the setup of the ghost, even the house. Like I felt like the house, like its placement on the street, the angle in which we're shown it. I don't know. I just felt like very reminiscent of part 2. I was like, are they using like old footage from like The Conjuring 2? Because I was just like, this seems very familiar.
Have you seen the it looks just like the house though that the Smurl family that this movie's based on. The house looks extremely identical. Have you ever seen the footage?
I didn't.
If you Google it, they did a pretty good job at recreating that house. But I agree with you, that angle of like the dingy, like wet night street. I thought of 2 as well. I was like, oh, interesting. But there's like a crazy like plant in the back, like in the distance, and because that the town that it's based on in Pittston, Pennsylvania, they it's like based on a real town that family actually lived in. But I agree with you, the way that they shot that, I was like, like maybe we could have done some different angles to differentiate the settings, because people might get the 2 fused together.
Confused.
I don't know, just memory-wise.
All right, I'm glad I wasn't the only one.
Yeah, no, I thought that too.
Now we're going to start going into spoiler territory, okay? The Democratic consensus is that the movie was okay. But as I said, personal opinion, I do not think it was a good send-off. As I mentioned before, uneven balance between the horror and the drama, lackluster scares, lackluster, I don't even know if you call a demon or demons, because they say it was 3, right? But then it was a demon hiding behind that, but then it's also a mirror.
I'm
also Annabelle really there quick. Sometimes.
Go for it. The floor is open. That's all I had to say.
Well, also going into your point about it being very Conjuring reminiscent or Conjuring 2, is that the whole thing of that this demonic figure is taking a ghost or like a phantom figure and putting it as like the main focus. Because although this one is definitely a vengeful spirit that they're like, because the axe wielding dude is definitely trying to murder them. While in the second one, it's just creepy, like, but ultimately just a normal elderly man that passed away in his chair that Valak is basically like forcing him to haunt this family. So, but that did bring me more than the house. That one, I was just like, I feel like I've seen this before. So,
yeah,
but yeah,
it's just multiplied now.
Man, I need to watch Conjuring 2.
Conjuring 2 is fantastic.
Do it immediately when you get off of this call.
It's you know what it is? It's also like there's also the element of like it wants the family, because and if I do recall, The Conjuring 2, Lorraine she's drawing. She's in her house, and that's the thing I think that makes The Conjuring 2 so iconic. Sorry, I don't want to spoil too much, Kevin, but
no, it's okay. It's okay. I'm good with spoilers.
Valak appears multiple times in the movie before it's actually revealed to be Valak. Like, there's the scene where Lorraine is talking, and etched in the back are the letters, the name on like the wood counter, the windowsill.
It's like an Easter egg. You gotta like look
it's
out
really
for the
cool
name in the
stuff.
back. It's
like,
really cool.
Like basically like this demon has already kind of been feeding on the Warrens, and it's making itself known through this poltergeist, which I think is the real made up part of the movie. But the way they actually do tell that story, as I said before, is very well done. But yeah, it's the same idea here, where like I think it was the I didn't like the movie, but the coolest thing I think here is that we see the way it's tied up together from their past to the present. Though the plausibility with which they get from the past to the present, and that mirror, I've seen it before. That's kind of silly to me. But
I just thought, and it's I don't know why this came to me, but I just thought of the end scene. So very spoiler. Where they're at the wedding and all the people come back, the cameos from the other films.
James Wan! James Wan is in the crowd!
It's so funny.
And James Wan, and I just thought, like, this would be a good, I mean, I don't know how, big this film is going to be overall, as far as the zeitgeist and people that are horror fans, but for the next scary movie, just have a wedding type thing and just bring back a bunch of people like the nun kind of clapping and Annabelle sitting in the seat. That seems very much, but that seems so less like the Waynes and more like the whatever people took over during that seems very cheap. But
it's like James Wan just wrote that scene just so he could be in it. He's like,
yeah.
I think we should do cameos, and I'm first on the list. Which is fine. I get
He's
it.
just right smack down there. And no, I think the Waynes, I don't know if you've seen any of the haunted house movies by the Waynes brothers. And there's, I think, in the first or the second one, he definitely has an affair with Annabelle. I don't think
I don't remember that. But
I need to rewatch this.
Very weird.
I bought it as soon as I watched it because this is funny, and then I never watched it again. So.
It's just a one funny watch.
Yeah. Go for
really
it.
quick. Is this distracting everybody? Because I can turn it off. It's starting to distract me. It's the first Conjuring.
Sound on or something, or
no? It's just the first Conjuring movie.
It's an Easter egg.
Yeah, I think it's good for the
we'll
audience. Good for the audience.
Dempsey, what you were talking about how reminiscent it is of the second movie, I actually I agree with you. Now that I'm thinking of it, I'm like, I see it now. This family is being tormented because so I don't know how you guys how well do you guys know anything about the background of the Smurl family that this story is based off of?
I knew nothing going into it.
Nothing at all.
I know nothing about any ghost thing ever.
Highly recommend you all to look into it some more. I don't want to go into too much detail because we don't have all the time for that, but I can recommend some really good podcasts to you guys. Later on, I could recommend some books and stuff later on, but
I gotta do research for this movie.
No, I'm just saying, it's really the Smurl family.
Do you have any
is
top
very
ones?
Interesting.
Do you have any top ones off the top of your head to recommend that people listen?
Two Girls, One Ghost podcast has a good two-parter.
What a great one to lead off with.
No,
I'm
What's going on?
No, you guys, Two Girls, One Ghost. They're one of my favorite podcasts. They do entire this other podcast called the Haunted Objects podcast has a really good. They have a couple episodes on the Warrens, but the most recent one. Oh, actually, I don't know if they talk about the Smurl family. I mean, cross that out. Anyway, so the whole thing about the three spirits in the basement of this house, that came from Lorraine Warren herself. She claimed when she got to this house, when she, in the 80s, she was there's, an older woman and another lady and a guy, and they're being puppeteered by this demon in the house. And that's basically what happens in the second movie. So it's it's kind of weird how they didn't really change anything about that, but they also didn't explain that very well. It's very well explained in the second movie because it becomes that demon has a name and becomes a very prominent character in two other spin-off movies. But this demon in Last Rites doesn't really have a name, and it's kind of only shown a couple times, but we don't really know what it is. And the whole thing with the mirror was the mirror that one of the teenage girls gets as her confirmation gift. That was written by that was a, I guess you would call it a plot device that added in by the franchise, but that the mirror had nothing to do with like the real family, what happened to them. They started experiencing allegedly these spiritual happenings just like randomly, and they think it may have had to do with when someone was like praying in the house, like it was some sort of act of like religion that like sparked this spirit to start being active in the house. So there was never a mirror in the real family's house. That was just like what the movie wrote in, and I honestly thought that was like the worst part of the whole story. I was like, really? This all started from a mirror that Lorraine touched in the 60s? Like, now this demon that's in the mirror is like haunting her daughter her whole life. Like, it's just, I liked it. Like I said, I liked it, but it was also very, I'm like, this kind of feels like they kind of rushed it just a little bit. I feel like they could have done a little bit more with that whole web of spirits. I don't know.
I like when.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I mean,
Kevin.
you can go ahead, Connor.
No, I was just gonna go on another ramble. So you go, Kevin.
Fair enough. No, I mean, like it's kind of interesting that you say that it rushes that aspect of it, because it does. The movie kind of feels very inverted of what it should be focusing on in terms of to make the story compelling. Like Dempsey, you're saying it's very imbalanced because of it had trouble balancing the horror and the drama. Well, the problem is that there really isn't any drama going on. Like, it's just more like a character says, hey, I want to do this thing. And then they just kind of do the thing. and
then, Gordon!
Yeah, exactly. They do the thing. And then like, there's like a jump scare scene that happens. And then it immediately moves on to the next thing. I'm like, okay. And just cycles like that. It really is a movie that's all about plot, where it's just like, oh, this is happening because this happens and this happens and this happens and this happens and this happens, and it's like, but where's the emotional weight to this? And it's a long movie. Like, they're holding on these moments for a long time, but there's nothing to sink your teeth into to really kind of like feel affected by it or like make you chew on it too. Because again, it's like the whole thing. I want to say like, oh wow, that's really interesting that chose a mirror for this, because it's like you're reflecting back on everything that this franchise has done before and now moving on to a new chapter or like finalizing everything. But like, there's no thought put into it like that. It's just more like, oh, this mirror's kind of spooky and scary.
It's just an evil mirror. Yeah.
An evil mirror that spins around really fast.
Do you remember the part where they were like, do you know what happened to the girl that you got this mirror for, or that the shop owner
like,
who owned that mirror? And they were like, no, we don't know what happened to her. I'm like, I'm like, oh, why mention it at all? I don't know. That was kind of weird.
Yeah,
well, I was personally like, what happened to that woman? So I'm glad they were just like, yeah, you know what, screw her. We had ourselves to worry about.
Maybe she's gonna get her own spinoff movie. I don't know. Maybe that's what they're
Mirror Girl.
I took this. I thought that this was gonna be the last Warren-centered Conjuring movie, but everyone keeps saying that it's the last Conjuring movie, like supposed to be the last Conjuring movie ever. So I'm like, oh, which is it? I don't know.
No,
it could be. There could be spin-offs.
Considering this, that now it's apparently the biggest opening weekend for any Conjuring movie. Yeah, it may not be the last one anymore.
They're like, wait.
No. Yeah, James Wan. Or Michael Chavez has said in an interview recently that this is the final film for the Warrens, but as we know them, but it's they have more stories to tell, because they've previously, Wan has called it, this is phase 1. This is the end of this is the end, or something of that nature, where he's like, this is the end of this phase and now we're moving into a different phase. So this is basically their end game. So, and now they're moving on to he didn't say that, that's what I'm going off.
Not everything has to be Marvel.
but I one of the things that at first, and I do have a gripe still with this part of it, and I do mention it briefly in my review, is that I don't like the CGI giant Annabelle thing that comes at her. And I'm like, why are you waving the flashlight like this? Like, it's in the center of the room. It's a giant Annabelle. So,
Because it makes it scary, Connor.
Yeah,
That's why.
yeah, you're right.
It's also cheaper to not show the thing.
Yeah, you're right. But yeah, I was just like, why is this was during my watch, and then about like maybe the third time Annabelle appeared, I was just like, oh, I get it now because I remembered. And I was like, why is Annabelle in this film so much? And why is she so focused on haunting Judy? And it's because of Annabelle Comes Home, because that whole thing, Judy is the victim. Judy is being haunted by not only Annabelle, but other ghosts in the house the Warren house that have been unleashed from that storage closet thing. So, so I get like why that they're going into her like mind basically from where Lorraine had touched the mirror. So it's just basically like, hey, Annabelle is, a fear of yours. And even when the girl is like, it's like, do you like dolls? And she's like, no, not really. So, and that doll, by the way, I think they did a good job on that doll. I don't know if that's a real doll, like that little baby that walks but that thing was scary. It had no eyes.
That looked practical to me. Like that, like there at some point, maybe some of it was CGI'd, like obviously when it's like raising up or someone was in a green suit lifting it up, but I think they made that practical.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that was a practical thing. This
it.
movie has a $55 million budget. You can.
Well, I more meant like if it's a real toy from the 80s that was like.
Oh,
I don't think so, because they just like there's a doll that just. I know I have 3 kids, so this is my area of expertise. There's a doll that just came out a few years ago that like the big thing about it is that it can stand up on its own. So I feel like. When I saw the doll get up to, I was like, "That looks just like the doll that unfortunately is in my house."
Oh my god! It's like the clown from Poltergeist.
It's a neat little thing, though. I thought that is a neat little sequence.
What does it say over and over? It goes, does it go, "Mama, Mama"? Is that what it says? Yeah.
Mama.
So,
or something like that. Yeah.
I
know
like
there
it.
were dolls like that in the 80s. I don't think it was that exact one.
Yeah.
Because I've
to
definitely
talk
seen...
and walk, that would have been revolutionary. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're right. When did whatever that Elmo toy?
Yeah, Tickle Me Elmo. That was a mid-90s.
Yeah, so this is way ahead of its time.
Yeah, big
Got to patent it right now, Warrens.
All right, so we spoke a little bit about all different kinds of things. The mirror is, I feel like we got to talk about. The only thing I want to say about the mirror is that it is, even though it's ridiculous, it is still not the worst scene involving a mirror that was in a movie this year. That award goes to, Snow White and Gal Gadot and whatnot. But I just want to say that whole sequence took me out of the movie entirely. And it was so silly. It's like, why is the mirror spinning? And if I do recall, when it was spinning, it didn't have the crack in it anymore. Am I crazy?
No, you're not crazy.
I
it didn't have it. It fixed itself. I'm like, okay.
CGI. Yeah, it's wild. But
scary how the cracks disappear. I'm terrified.
It
speaks to a larger issue. I feel like Connor just said, like the movie, like there's a thing that said once, and it's kind of effective the way it said. It's preying on their fears. That's the mirror's thing. Where I think it would have been smarter to say like it's a reflection of your the thing that scares you the most. That would have been smarter in my opinion. But it preys on your fears. Just the stereotypical line. And then, it preys on Judy's fear of Annabelle. That is already deep-rooted if you've seen the 7 other movies, Mm-hmm. And then it preys on, like, the priest's fear. And then it continues to prey on the Warrens' fear of losing their daughter by actually possessing their daughter.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's so much more that could have been done with that. But it's, like I said, it's done in, like, these weird little pockets. And I want to talk specifically about the priest, Father Gordon, who... I'm sorry. The way he's introduced in this, it feels like he's like an A-lister. We should be like, oh my God, that guy's in this movie too.
Yeah, I was very confused by that one.
And apparently he's in all the other Conjuring movies. I had to look it up for myself.
Yeah.
But I do not remember him for the life of me.
Oh, really? Yeah, no. He's like, when he popped up, I was like, oh yeah, there he is.
But the way he dies is like totally out of, like, for 1 second. Like, I get that the movie is following the family and the Warrens, but then there's like this 5-minute sequence where it's like, it's all about the priest. And then he goes to visit like his local whatchamacallit, like Catholic
Diocese.
building. Yeah, diocese.
The
Thank
Catholic. It was the one in Pennsylvania. It was the one near the Smurl family because he
Yes.
wanted their permission, or he wanted their help, and he was
Yes.
obviously he's out of town, so he went. Yeah, he went to their local diocese,
And then he dies, and it's like almost
Whatever, yeah.
it's like a weird set. It almost feels like a Final Destination.
That's what I was gonna say. Like when you see the buffer guy, I was like, oh, and then
Yeah,
the
that's not
cord,
gonna
I was just like, oh, this is Final
But then he
Destination.
kills himself, and then it's just like, oh no, he's dead. And like once again, the way it's done, it's like they expect you to be like, not Father Gordon. But honestly, I was like, this is random as hell. So I just wanted to say, like, the movie is filled. Kevin, I think, said it the best. It's like filled with like all these vignettes of like, oh no, we're gonna do this, and then they do it, and then either something scary happens or nothing happens at all, and they move to the next vignette. And I don't know. I'm just venting at this point.
That. No, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
I mean, to circle back a little bit, we were talking about how this director of this movie, I'm totally blanking on the name, but this is the closest that anyone has ever directed similarly to James Wan, which I do agree with. Like this, like I watched it and I'm like, I wouldn't be surprised if James Wan directed this. And I saw that he didn't. I was like, oh, okay. But the thing is, like, it is sure you can replicate another director's style, but I mean, I guess if you want to be a director for hire, like for James Wan, then sure, I guess this is good job security for you. But like, if you want to if you want to be making a statement of for yourself as a director, being like a lesser version of someone else isn't really going to really cement you in the history of film. But that aside, it's but this whole movie felt like it's like, oh, it's just like it understands the look and feel of the look of a James Wan movie. It understands the spectacle of a James Wan movie, but doesn't understand the emotions of a James Wan movie. And that's kind of what it all has been boiling down to. Like, again, all these vignettes are just similar to how vignettes are done in James Wan's movies, but without any emotion. There's no dramatic tension. There's no conflict. It's all just like, the plot's going to happen and we're going to explain the plot to you as we do it. And it just happens without a hitch. So.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I mean, hopefully he continues kind of like, I'm fine with him having some relation to like Wan's style. I get what you're saying that you don't want him to be completely imitating his style going forward. But from my memory, the third film, like it did not try to do his style like almost at all.
No.
And it felt choppy. And so this film feels way smoother, even with the extended runtime. The cuts, the editing is awful from what I remember in The Conjuring 3. But maybe I'm just,
okay.
But
no, you're right. I rewatched it before I watched this movie, so you're spot on. And it feels. I remember if I remember, I know that was the year that WB threw all their movies on HBO Max to try to build it up. And the way it was billed, first of all, the devil is not even the villain in that movie. So false advertisement. But the way it's billed is that it's going to be like a legal horror, like a courtroom drama / horror movie. So I'm thinking it's going to be like a 12 Angry Men where they're like going over the case and then showing what really happened, when in fact that is not what happens at all. No. Everything that happens about the case is like the first 20 minutes. And then the rest of it is the Warrens get inside this weird little rabbit hole. Trying to figure out what happened, what caused the kid to be possessed. It's terrible. I'm sorry. It's worse than this movie. That's saying a lot.
If you know anything about that real case, it's actually really frustrating to watch that third movie, because you're just like, obviously it's based, all of these are loosely based on real things, but when you like actually dig deep into that case specifically, the third movie is so frustrating to watch, because you're just like, that's not what happened, which is fine, but it also it like goes off the rails into like some other completely different idea and theory.
Because isn't the whole thing is that
all over that
this is someone that really murdered someone and then basically pled insanity, that they were possessed by the devil. And then the Warrens are basically like there to prove that he is in fact telling the truth. And I mean, that is pretty shitty. So
if you rewatch the third movie, that whole beginning of it where Kevin spoilers a little bit, sorry, they're exorcising a demon out of a 12-year-old boy who is the little brother of the girlfriend of Arnie Johnson, who the story is based around. And when he testified in court, he was like, I told the demon to come in inside of me instead of my girlfriend's brother, which is what happens in the movie. But then everything after that is not really what happens, and that it's when you learn about what that family was actually going through, it's okay, well, it may not have been any spirits at all whatsoever. And when Arnie Johnson killed the guy that he was on trial, he was tried for, you look at the case and there's drinking involved and all these other things that are way more explainable than spirits. And he just totally took this other, he blamed it basically on this little kid that had this exorcism happened,
which was real. The exorcism is
real. Which was
real.
a real thing. Yeah, no, it was. And he just kind of was well, I told the demon to come inside of me, and that's why I killed this guy. And it's when you look at it from
you told the demon
a
to what?
Point of view, yeah. Shut up, Kevin.
I was thinking the same
Bleep
thing.
that out.
Bleeping it out would make it so much worse. But
well, maybe the demon did. I don't know. It's not my business.
But I do have a question
Sorry.
though, because this is something I texted Connor a little bit about the when I was watching the movie. Is that I find it hard to really engage with the Conjuring franchise with everything that's about how the Warrens most likely have faked their cases, and these are all fake cases, stuff like that. And Tiffany, I want to, since you're so versed in these stories, I'm wondering how do you feel about whether or not the stories are real, whether or not the Warrens might be con artists, if we should be watching these movies or at least giving money to these movies that are about putting these alleged con artists in a good light.
Yeah, no, I told Connor before I agreed to do this episode, I was I hate this franchise because I really enjoy watching these movies, but I do constantly question the ethics around the characters that these stories are based on. We use them down to the names. And I'm always just is that right? Because for the permanent record, I truly believe that Ed and Lorraine Warren were grifters. And I feel like they preyed upon families who were in great distress, or maybe were actually really, I believe that these families were really going through something and experiencing some unexplained things, and Ed and Lorraine Warren kind of swooped in to make a quick buck off of them. Because a lot of these stories, the people that were part of it were yeah, no, they wrote a book on what happened to us and we didn't see any money from it, even though they made a lot of money from it. So I get very frustrated watching some of these, Ed and Lorraine Warren in the Conjuring movies, I love them. Ed and Lorraine Warren in real life, I'm I just don't like to think about it sometimes.
In real life, did they invoice the families that they helped or something like that? Something that we don't see in the movie, or is the money coming from donations or book sales or something like that?
I think they were doing book sales
and speeches, right? Weren't they going
seminars?
Yes.
Yeah.
So they did. So which you probably saw it in the first movie, Kevin, and I think that it's at the beginning of this last rites as well, where they're in lecture halls and they're giving lectures on their experiences and these families that they go to, and you get a lot of flack from their audiences. They go, oh, I mean, these kids are literally singing the Ghostbusters theme to them. They definitely do not believe them. And these folks were truly criticized by a lot of people, by the church, by the local people in their neighborhood. They were not totally liked, but there were I mean, clearly now, these movies have kind of created a positive legacy for them in real life, and they they paint them as heroes in these movies, and that wasn't always the case. Unfortunately, the Glatzel family, who is the family at the very beginning of The Devil Made Me Do It, the Warrens made a lot of money off of those books from what I remember, and that family never saw either any money or any good percentage of money, if I'm remembering correctly, and
Right.
I believe Lorraine Warren told them they were going to make a lot of money off of this story going public, and they never did. And it's just like really sad to think that these people are painted as heroes in these movies, which I think are great movies, but I feel like maybe these movies could have given them different names, because now everybody sees the real people as heroes, which is, that's okay if you do, based on whatever you believe about them, and you make up your own opinions on them the more you learn about them. But I do constantly question the ethics on this.
Right. Well, I mean, in terms
very-
of like financial ethics, though, because the Warrens, the character Ed and Lorraine, like they're no longer living. I believe it is their estate that handles all their IP now. Do we know that?
So here's the thing. I don't know who's handling the rights to the movies, or if, Atomic Monster picked that up when they started doing these movies. I do know that comedian Matt Rife owns all their artifacts.
I just found that out yesterday, and I
very
started
odd.
screaming.
Oh, wow.
I was like, "Why?"
He bought the Annabelle doll and everything
Man.
in that storage unit like a few months ago. And I remember that was all over the news.
I mean, I would be making TikToks, be like, yeah, like here's why this is all fake, and he just like poke the Annabelle doll or something.
He just lets her out, and then chaos, even more chaos ensues.
Just let's put her like basically like treat her like how some people treat their American Girl dolls.
I love my American Girl doll.
It's very weird. I just, for time's sake, I do love this discussion. I do like the fact that we actually tackled the legacy of the Warrens. But that ties in nicely to what I wanted to just point out at the very end here. That there were a bunch of other stories, bigger cases that were just not tackled. Amityville was name dropped here. There's this really great one that was rumored to be one of the sequels, I think before The Devil Made Me Do It came out, but I think they ended up just doing The Devil Made Me Do It instead. It's about this guy dubbed the South End Werewolf. He was this guy who literally thought he was possessed, or he thought he was a werewolf, and then the Warrens concluded that he was possessed by a demon that was making him think he was a werewolf. And he was like eating chickens and stuff. And, he was like running around butt naked in the woods. Crazy story if you ever get a chance to look that up. And then there was also this other story I came across called the Lindsay Street Haunting. And it was basically, the craziest thing about this is that eventually the kids came out and said it was a hoax, similar to the Enfield poltergeist, which is what part 2's made up about. But a lot of neighbors in this neighborhood reported seeing strange things happen in the house. And there's one instance where somebody came over and they said that they saw one of the pets singing Christmas carols, which is like can you imagine that as a movie?
Okay.
Like a talking animals?
Animals, I've never seen that
I know
movie.
exactly what you're talking about. I'm gonna keep my mouth shut because I don't want to ramble. But yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, so a lot of
Crazy
just to
shit,
say,
yeah.
like, they could have done a lot more with this franchise. Maybe they do. Going into it, my whole theory was that they're gonna retire these guys because obviously, as we said, some of them are getting tired of making these movies, and maybe redo it with like younger actors, have them start off. But they kind of do it in this movie, so I don't even know if that's an option anymore.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's like that. The whole flashback thing was like kind of like a backdoor pilot situation
to
for,
do
like,
that,
Yeah.
right?
a reboot. Yeah.
Because
Which-
the guy they casted for like the young Ed Warren looks exactly like him. My husband and I argued for like 10 minutes. He was like, they de-aged him. I'm like, no, Ryan, that's a different actor. And he's like, no, they de-aged him. I'm like, the actress doesn't look anything like Vera Farmiga, which I think they should
I
have
had
used
the
her
same
sister.
issue.
Yeah, I
Well,
think
her,
they
her
should use
sister's
Taisha.
already in The Nun, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but she has darker hair.
Yeah.
Lorraine has
But
darker hair. They could.
I did have the same thought where it's like, oh, are they de-age? And why didn't they just use her sister? And then I looked it up. I was like, oh, it's people.
Yeah, no, they looked really good though. So that'd be fun to see.
Even like
Maybe.
when Ed was
Put into
just
a CW
talking,
show.
when Ed was just talking, I was just like, oh, well, he doesn't sound exactly like Patrick Wilson. But then when he's like, he yells Lorraine, like when she touches the mirror, I'm like, oh, that is Patrick Wilson. Like I almost felt like he dubbed over that. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, no,
I think
yeah, I
that's good,
fully agree that the actress that played Lorraine did not really feel like Vera Farmiga's version of
Yeah.
these people or this person. So
I just want to point out, the poster. Do you guys see both images in the poster?
Yeah.
yeah, I was going to ask about the
Yeah.
poster.
They're screaming. You see their heads upside down screaming on the side?
Yeah.
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 I just saw that. I just noticed that.
Oh, did you just only see the devil?
Yeah, I was like, Connor, did you just change the poster?
No,
No.
it's been like
I was
that. But here's the thing, though.
Oh.
I'm glad you brought the poster because I want to bring that up too. Is like this poster perfectly represents the movie, in my opinion, where it's like visually really interesting. But what does it mean?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Valid.
is
I
that
mean-
supposed to, obviously that's Vera on the right.
And Patrick
and then,
upside down.
And then, is that Patrick? Okay.
Yeah,
But then
that's
what is
Patrick
that
upside
big
down.
lump that's making the horns? Like, what
I
is
think it's
that?
like I think
It's
it's
like
like their arms or something.
And this is good for our audio
Oh
listeners.
yeah.
That's
But-
Blumhouse digging in my pocket for my wallet and stealing my money to make me go see this movie.
For those curious, the poster we're looking at is the Bright Red Devil poster that was the main one that they released. So check that out if you want context.
Prepare for the end.
Yeah. Yeah, even though, and I was waiting to the end to drop this, but I know for a fact this is not the last Conjuring movie. I have a buddy who has connections in Hollywood, and
Well, good for you.
NDA.
No. He told me this a while ago. He said, he usually gets like scoops about certain, projects. And he said, somebody told me this and I don't even care for it. And I don't even care. He said, they're basically making a La Llorona sequel. That's already like in development.
Oh, okay.
I never saw that one.
So, and it's like, yeah, it's such a movie that nobody really cares about. And in this franchise, I think it's interesting to point out that even though they say it's the end, as Connor mentioned earlier, it looks like phase 2 is about to start. Nick Fury is going to pop up at the end and be like, hey guys, I'm putting a team together.
Well, I mean, Tony was handed the keys at the end of this one. He was basically like, they basically were like, here, this
you mean
this
Devin
could be yours
Sawa?
someday.
Didn't he look like Devin Sawa? Was that the only one that was like,
A little bit. No, I see it.
Ben
Nah.
Hardy.
I had to look him up. I was like, what? Like,
Yeah,
have you seen this guy before?
I recognized him and I was like, where did I know him from? And he's from a really good rom-com from Netflix from a couple of years ago with Haley Lou Richardson. So highly recommend that.
Now, he's also Archangel in the X-Men, right? And
he was in one of the X-Men, but I
Apocalypse,
didn't remember him. So I stopped caring about X-Men after, I guess, Days of Future Past. So.
We won't talk about that. But I think that's all the talking points that I had to say. I think now is as good time as ever to go back around the room and see if any of us changed our mind, maybe for the better, or if the devil made us change our minds. Ooh, no, I don't know. So let's start again with Connor. Connor, what's your final rating?
I'm still 100% sticking with a full popcorn. I do see, and I previously even noted the issues that do occur in this film, but they don't really hinder my experience. I just had a good time, and I get why people, similar to the other films and the spinoffs and so forth, will be like, this feels like a haunted house, like jump scare. But I thought it was well executed, and I thought it definitely felt like a James Wan movie, even though he wasn't behind the camera. I think that if this is a final send-off for these actors playing Ed and Lorraine, I think that this is a good enough film. I think that it's not a film that I could see myself going to in front of Conjuring or Conjuring 2. Conjuring 2 I watch every Halloween, or around there. The Conjuring I watch every so often. So I think that this film will definitely be in my trilogy stack, because what's perfect is that if you are like me and you dislike the third film, you just kind of push that away, and then you got Conjuring 1, 2, and then you got Conjuring Last Rites, because there's no number, so it works out, so it doesn't look weird when you see your spines. But all right, highly recommend if you're a Conjuring fan, and that's it for me.
All right, Tiffany.
I still think I'm full popcorn bucket. Only because I did really have such a good time with it, although I do appreciate everybody's like opinions and points of view, and I really like tackling like all the plot points and like the whole story and like the comparisons. I definitely do agree with you guys on a lot of stuff now that I'm thinking about it. I'm like, okay, no, like, that's why I love having these types of discussions, because I love seeing how other people view these movies and what they what reminds them of certain parts of other movies that I didn't notice. But I think it's definitely like on the lower rank of the 4. I think I agree with Connor. I think the third one's definitely on the bottom for me, because it's just it doesn't really feel like, the third one doesn't feel like a James Wan movie. This one more so. It felt very much return to form in some essence. And while I don't agree with like a lot of the stuff they chose plot wise, I still think if you have a connection to this film version of Ed and Lorraine Warren in the last like 3 movies and the other movies that they pop up in this franchise, I think you really will like the way that their story wraps up in this movie, because that's what it felt like the most to me. I'm like, above like a scary movie, this was their story getting wrapped up. And at the end of like a lot of these movies, it's like them coming together at the end is like, okay, they kind of have like a happy ending and they're just gonna like move on, and they're like a beautiful love story sort of thing. And that's kind of like, it kind of ends with Judy's love story and that she's okay. And, you know, and I was very emotional the first like 10 minutes of this movie for like reasons that you guys, I don't know, could probably put 2 and 2 together. I was very emotional during some scary parts of the first parts of this movie. And then by the end I was like crying because I'm like, she's okay. So yeah, I'm still full popcorn bucket.
Kevin?
I'm still half popcorn bucket. My needle has not moved at all. I'm still very much like, yeah, it's visually and like aesthetically, like it's fine. And then, but like if you're like really paying attention to the story, it's just really not for me at all. I mean, if for reference, my favorite horror movie is People Under the Stairs. So it's like, that's kind of like where the angle I'm coming from when I watch horror movies, where it's like, okay, there's something that's horror, because I think horror is a very great genre to be very political in. And because politics is scary. But there's a lot of scary real life things to worry about, where it's like, oh, the people are the real creatures, and then but there's all, you can also do that with enhance that with supernatural elements too. And then like, but also like, I love the first Conjuring movie because it uses supernatural elements to show the strength of familial love. So yeah, when I entered into Conjuring Last Rites, I was like, well, maybe it'll be good. And then I was like, it doesn't do anything that I like about horror movies. And then the actual horror elements, I'm like, I don't really care if it's scary or not. To me, this isn't really scary. Jump scares don't really get me, at least not these. And it's just kind of whatever. But so yeah, I'm still sitting at half popcorn on this one.
All very valid opinions. I'm happy to see that the needle did not move for any of you guys, because it also did not move for me. Okay, for lack of a better term, actually, it's kind of fitting for me to say this. I felt like this movie had no soul, guys. Like, just like it they could have done so much more. I get it's their last case, but as I mentioned before, it's very derivative of things that they've done before. The aspect of their daughter, I was expecting a little bit more. I get what they were trying to do, including, as you guys mentioned, passing the keys off to potentially Tony for some spin-off stuff, maybe even alluding to the fact that they may revisit the Warrens again as a younger couple in future films in the opening of the film. But if this felt pointless. Not saying the last movie felt like a good place to end either, but as I already discussed here too, there were so many other better ideas, I feel. Even if they would have done like kind of like an anthology of like different cases towards the end of their lives, I think that would have even made for a better story. Or even following them after they completely retired to see what their supernatural interactions would have been like, when when the book was closed, so to speak, just to access a point in their life that not too many people know about, because after they retired, they were very private people. But yeah, I still don't like this movie. Love the franchise and the idea of the franchise, but if it is true that it's only just beginning and that we're going to get like some more films in the future, they really got to step up their game. And I don't know. Unless you guys have something else to say, I think this is as good a place as any.
I mean, it's probably not the worst movie that released on my birthday. It's definitely not the best though.
Kevin.
Great quote.
I am curious because we've touched upon sort of our favorites and least favorite of this universe. And Kevin, you're kind of left out because you've only seen 2. So I would imagine your favorite would be Conjuring, your least favorite Annabelle Creation. Is that correct?
I feel like, yeah, I definitely like Last Rites more than Annabelle Creation.
Last Rites, I forgot about that. So you got 3. So, okay. What about you, Tiffany? Do you have a least favorite and your favorite of this universe?
Okay, so in terms of the entire franchise,
yeah,
the Nun movies are my favorite. They are just, I don't care what anyone says about the second one. I love the first one and the second one. Those are like at the top for me. But in terms of like this storyline, Conjuring 1 through 4, I think for me it would go 2.
I just
1,
made the whole
4,
universe.
3. Oh, you mean the whole universe?
Yeah,
well,
the
nuns are my favorite. I also, it's like Nun 1, Conjuring 2, and then like Nun 2. Those are like my top 3, I feel like.
I also have a soft spot for the Nun, the first one. The second one I think is a better made film, but I think I think from a technical standpoint, the second one is better made. From a script standpoint, I like the first one more.
So. I agree, Connor. I'm in the same boat. And I think The Devil Made Me Do is probably the worst in this franchise. Honestly,
out of
all the Conjuring movies and the whole
and
Conjuring universe movie.
Yeah.
But The Conjuring 2 is my favorite. Like I said, I think it really it's like James Wan at his best. Like he just gets everything right in that movie.
Man, Conjuring 2 has been sitting on my shelf for so long. I really should watch it.
Yeah, check it out.
No,
it's really good,
you
man.
gotta do the whole. I think you gotta do the whole.
Well, I don't know about the whole.
Franchise.
I don't know about the whole.
Start all over, man.
No, you gotta do it.
You gotta watch it. You gotta watch it in the order that it takes place in the universe.
The timeline you order.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Good luck
I might
with
be a little
that.
tired out on that one.
I think you gotta start. I think that one is the Nun to start.
So what? Phase 2 is gonna connect Insidious franchise as well, so it's actually like set in the multiverse crossover thing, and then it's gonna be like some secret wars, and Annabelle is somehow always gonna survive all of it.
Maybe.
I think Annabelle would have been as good of any to be a Nick Fury in this universe. Just have her sitting at a bar stool, with a drink.
They're always gonna tie it into Annabelle. Annabelle is the fanfare. Annabelle is the thing that everybody loves. It's like the iconography of this franchise. Although I thought it was very weird how they just kind of threw her into this movie a little bit too much, but
I don't know if you guys have seen Smile, the first one. I haven't seen the second one, but Smile has a creature that, I think in the final act that is very CGI, and its movements felt very much like this Annabelle doll. Dempsey, you nodded. You've seen Smile. Would you?
Yeah,
agree with
Lolly, right? Isn't the monster in that movie's name Lolly or Lollipop?
I have no clue.
I think that's what its nickname is. But yeah,
I did see the first one.
It's yes, the movements, yes, but and I think from my understanding, the creature's actually very practical from Smile.
I think it's supposed to be. Isn't it supposed to be like a mix of claymation? I think. Or
something like that, but no, I know there is some CGI aspects to it, but a lot of it is very practical. Because I remember for Smile, if you haven't seen Smile 2, you're gonna love it. I think it's much better than Smile.
I've heard a lot of great things about Smile 2.
Yeah, Smile 2 is wicked. Naomi Scott got an Oscar nom for that movie.
Wow.
I've seen the opening scene of Smiling 2, or Smile 2.
Oh yeah, watch if you haven't seen either of them, watch them back to back because they literally go right into each other.
I've seen the first one. And I just Googled what the thing looks like at the end, and I'm like, oh, that's right. I haven't seen it in a long time. But then I also, a while ago, someone was like, you need to watch the first 15 minutes of this movie. And I was like, okay. And then I never finished it, but maybe I'll finish it.
But to answer your question, yeah, it also reminded me, I don't know if you guys have ever seen It Follows. There's a scene in that movie where the girl's talking in the hallway and this giant creature
the guy
comes storming. Yeah. That's what
it
reminded me.
It's so scary.
Yeah, it's wild. But anyway.
I'm looking in my hallway. I'm like,
it's in your TV. So there's a little girl leaking water out of your TV right now, Tiffany.
I know.
The TV's leaking.
Stop. Sydney, the TV's leaking. Sydney.
All right. This was a blast, but for the sake of our listeners, we have to cut it short. Guys, it was a pleasure speaking with all of you. But really, as I said, I want to thank all of our listeners for choosing to listen to the superior discussing film podcast, Cinefied Podcast. As mentioned before, you can find more of our episodes as well as all of our written reviews on Cinefied.com. This not only includes major blockbusters like The Conjuring Last Rites, but smaller films like The Threesome, which is one of my last reviews that I just wrote this past week, as well as the film that broke this year's Sundance Film Festival, Twinless, which Tiffany just reviewed. And if you're not a fan of reviews or, podcasts, we also have interviews. We also have retrospectives. Kevin just wrote a retrospective for 28 Days Later. You can read that on our website as well. Be sure to follow us on Letterboxd as well as all major social media platforms to stay up to date with all of our content. Now, pop some popcorn, grab a drink, and remember to stay cinefied. TM.